All right, so our training today is homemade turkey noodle soup. Oh, yeah. So if you caught last week's training, we made up some delicious homemade bread using our fail-proof bread recipe, and I showed you how you could quickly kind of change it around to suit what you actually have at your house. Buttermilk gets to be expensive unless you've got your own buttermilk and that you're pulling off your own farm. It's expensive. It just is. So I wanted to make sure I gave you guys another option in a way that you can make that particular recipe. And if you haven't caught that training from last week yet, scroll down. It should just be a few posts below the and I would love to hear your thoughts on it. All right? So we're going to dive into today's training before I jabber off too much. In the training today, we are making homemade turkey noodle soup. Okay? Homemade turkey noodle soup is a beautiful thing. And come on, let's admit it. It's flu season.
All right, we're gonna make up some delicious homemade noodles. Two cups of all-purpose flour and 1 cup whole wheat. And 1/4 flaxseed, and this is going to give it a good, rich, nutty flavor. But so often noodles have no flavor because it's just flour and water. Okay, so normally I would add some fresh cracked bouillon to this, but I'm actually out of chicken bouillon, and we're making turkey noodle soup, y'all. So I actually have some chicken flavored ramen noodle season packets, and I'm going to use that instead.
And we're just going to add a little bit of pepper to this.
I turn
Goes up anyway. So, all right. Thank you. Just going to make a little pool here in the middle. And we're going to pour in some water.
Now, I don't actually have an exact measurement for the water. It's somewhere between 3/4 of a cup to a full cup, and it's better to add more water than not enough. It's easier to add flour as needed than it is to add more water and then try to mix it together, as you will see.
Okay, now we got to make sure we take our jewelry off. I already took my other rings off, but so essentially we just need this to be a little bit of a sticky dough. Just a little sticky, not super sticky. Here. Oh, got too much water in it now. Flour has to be cooked first. You can't just eat it. Now, we're just going to set this off to the side with a little cover on it. We're going to let it sit. All right, so I love my pressure cooker. Pressure cookers are amazing. They're a lifesaver to me. So while we're waiting for our noodles to set just a little bit before we start rolling and cutting them out, let's get all this done. So we've got some old turkey that we're going to get used up.
Now, there's no exact measurement of how much turkey you need to add to this. You just want to add a substantial amount so that you can actually have meat and a good bite to your soup. Add your legs, your wings, and all of the dark meats possible.
Now, my old boss, Shane, yes, I'm talking about you, Shane, was an amazing chef. And the secret to an amazing poultry soup, you got to use the dark meat, not the white meat. The dark meat is what has the flavor in it. So we're going to get this leg bone done up. Okay, parsley's. Generous amounts of charcoal. All right, so now let's get some water in here.
And we need at least a tablespoon of olive oil in here.
Just because I'm out of bouillon, otherwise I would use 2 to 3 cubes of bouillon. We're gonna use some ramen noodle seasoning, chicken flavor. Pepper. Gotta give a little just a touch of paprika. Okay, so we're gonna get the lid on this. We're gonna put this over and get it cooking, and we're gonna let it rock for 5 minutes. So when it comes up to pressure, that's when you start your timer. Now, let's get our noodles done. So you can use a knife or a pizza cutter. I just use a pizza cutter. Boil for roughly about 5 minutes until your noodles are actually done. All right, our base soup is ready. The pressure cooker has come down in pressure. Let's go ahead and get our noodles in. Look at that Yummy! Before we put our noodles in, we gotta remove the little grate on the very bottom. Alright, we're gonna turn this on for another 5 minutes of boil time, okay? So we'll kick this back up to temp, give it a good hard boil for 5 minutes. And then, my friend, you're ready to serve.
It is flu season, it's corona season, it's everything season, okay? And like we've even been hit really hard here. So this past week, maybe even the last 2 weeks, like we've just been sick. Like it's been bad. Just you clear out of energy and you don't, all you want to do is sleep. And so we've been dealing with even that here at our house. And we don't get sick very often. And you know, that's a perfect time to pull out some leftover turkey. So for example, I like to freeze my leftover turkey because we don't generally eat all of it over Thanksgiving. And there's always some leftovers, so I just pop them in some bags or a container, and I pop it into the freezer because I know I'm going to be using it up really soon because everybody's going to start getting sick with the cold weather. And let's talk about that. Holy crap, it's been cold. So I don't know where y'all are from, or well, I don't know where some of y'all are from, but here in the highlands of western Wyoming, it has been insanely cold. It really has been crazy cold. And oh my gosh. So I'm not surprised even the littlest bit that we have started getting sick. I'm not. Oh, homemade turkey noodle soup is so good for you. And honestly, you can change it up depending on what you have in your cupboards, what you have in your fridge, and it's a great time to use up some of the last ends of your fresh garden veggies that are still sitting in your fridge or in your cold storage. It's a beautiful way to use up some of those so they don't go bad. So there are a few key pieces that are essential to a noodle soup. Yeah, you gotta make the noodles. My biggest problem with homemade noodles, or any kind of noodle actually, is that they're so bland. So bland. Years back, I started watching Pasta Grannies. I'm almost positive that's who it is. So it's a YouTube channel. And I just kind of like fell across them because it's old-fashioned cooking and really just beautiful. They're Italian ladies, and they teach these old noodle recipes that have been handed down over generations to everyone, and the same recipes that they made as a kid and their mothers before them, and so on and forth. And it's just really cool. And as I was watching those, it finally kind of dawned on me how easy noodles were. I'm like, because I'd always wanted to make homemade noodles, but I hated egg noodles. I hated just your standard homemade noodles. So I'm like, well, I've got enough bread knowledge that, you know, I should be able to work this out. And so I found that by adding flaxseed and some whole wheat, despite what everyone says that you need to use super, super fine ground flour to make noodles. You don't. You do want to have some fine flours in there, though, because you need that to, like, glue the noodles together. All right? But adding a little bit of whole wheat and some flaxseed, it's beautiful. Beautiful. And I actually add a little bit of chicken bouillon to my noodles. Well, the salt from the bouillon, and then I add a little pepper to it to give it just a little bit of a zing. And, you know, it really makes the noodles themselves quite delicious, even without anything on them. So they actually have flavor. Now, the flaxseed, the whole wheat gives it kind of a really soft, nutty flavor. And the flaxseed actually gives it a little bit of a sweet, nutty flavor touch. So it's really, really good. And then the salt in the bouillon enhances that. I really, really, really love to hear your guys' thoughts on it. I do adore you guys, and I want to make sure that I'm giving you the best that I can to help make everything possible. Remember, if you guys have questions, home related, bread related, noodle related, or about this training, past trainings, or where you can find the recipes, please make sure to drop your comments down below, and I will answer every single one of your messages. And you can also, like, speaking of messages, you can also just shoot me a direct message, y'all. You'd be surprised how many of you actually reach out to me with the exact same questions, and how some of you really do kind of feel alone, and you don't have to. You just don't have to feel alone, y'all, because you're not alone in facing these problems. There are people right here who are facing these problems too. And you'd be shocked at how many other people out there are facing them as well. For this absolutely yummy, nummy homemade chicken noodle training. And if you missed last week's bread training, where we used our foul-proof bread recipe and we made a few little alterations, we made it with water and I added a couple little extra things, check it out. The link is somewhere right down below. And I would love to hear your guys' thoughts and comments and feedback on the YouTube channel, and having that as our main platform for our big trainings, so the actual bread trainings. I would really like to hear your thoughts. So I'm really trying to get back on track, and we'll be posting our bread videos. I'm trying to get them out every Thursday like I used to always do, but sometimes they're not coming out until Friday. So I'm doing my best to get back at it, y'all. And I'll talk to you guys later.